The truck flipped once and rolled down a dark hill. Aaron saw a pale shape cross the hood. It was not a deer. It was thin and moved wrong, like it did not belong. Glass broke with a sharp sound. The headlights died. Rain hung in the air. A slow tapping began on the roof. Aaron could not shout. The door handle would not open. He was trapped as. Before that spin, Aaron liked driving at night. He worked late at a bakery, and the road home was a long, lonely ribbon of black with trees on each side. He liked how the radio made songs seem softer, and how the diner lights looked like tiny suns. He had an old pickup that coughed sometimes, but always started. His name was Aaron Reed and he was 29. His friends called him Careful. He had never been in trouble out on the road. A few nights before, he stopped at a diner under a flickering neon sign. An old man at the counter told a story about a shadow that walked the highway. Aaron thought it was a joke and left with coffee. On the night of the crash, the sky was clear. He finished work, warmed his hands on a paper cup, and drove. The road was empty. He passed the old bridge and the ruined barn and felt safe. Then the truck coughed, and the dashboard warning blinked. A car flashed by behind him. Something brushed the truck like cloth. The steering jerked, and the truck slid. The truck hit a dip and the world lurched. A shape stood in the road with arms wide. Its face was a pale smear with two bright dots for eyes. Aaron hit the brakes, but the truck did not stop. The pickup struck the shape with a thud that sounded wrong, like a door closing slowly. Glass fell. The headlights blinked out. The tapping on the roof grew louder, like someone using a stick. A car stopped at the top of the hill. Headlights flooded the wreck and for a moment Aaron thought help had come. Then the car did not move closer. A person stepped out into the light and stood very still. The person cast no shadow on the wet road. The tapping became a knock at the window. Aaron felt a cold breath at his neck and heard a voice say his name. He twisted to look. The window exploded inward with a sound like thunder. Rain and glass sprayed across his face. A shadow leaned close and a cold hand touched his shoulder. Aaron's breath stopped. The voice said, "Aaron, why did you leave me?" Then everything went black around the edges. Now. Aaron woke to the sound of soft ringing. At first he thought it was a phone, but it was the steady ping, ping, ping of leaking water hitting metal. His head throbbed. The air smelled like wet soil and burnt rubber. He was still inside the crashed pickup, but the world outside looked different. The road was gone. The trees were gone. It felt like the truck had been pushed into some foggy, empty place where sound did not travel far. He tried to breathe slowly as his eyes adjusted. His windshield was cracked like a spider web. Rain slid down in thin lines. The door beside him, the one that had been jammed shut, now hung open just a little, like someone had tested it while he was out. That made Aaron grip the seat. He checked his shoulder where the cold hand had touched him. His skin felt numb, like frostbite. He whispered, "Hello?" Nothing answered. Not the tapping. Not the voice. Not the strange figure that had stood by the car at the top of the hill. Aaron unbuckled himself and pushed the door the rest of the way open. The fog outside curled around his boots as he stepped onto the ground. The air was so thick it felt like he was walking through wet cotton. Yet the sound of the ping, ping, ping still echoed behind him, clear and sharp. He turned and realized the pickup wasn't leaking water. It was dripping from something hanging off the roof. A strip of cloth. Black. Like it had been torn from someone's sleeve. He backed away. A shadow moved in the fog. This was a low part of the night, where fear whispered instead of screamed. Aaron's mind raced for real explanations. Maybe he had hit a person. Maybe he had a concussion. Maybe he was dreaming. The radio in the pickup let out a burst of static. A soft voice came through it, breaking and fading. It was a woman's voice. Calm. Slow. Repeating one line over and over. "Don't look behind you." He froze. "Oh no," Aaron whispered. He squeezed his eyes shut and refused to turn around. The fog pulsed like it was breathing. The radio cut out with a small pop. Then, quiet footsteps on the wet ground behind him. 1 step. 2. 3. Aaron wanted to run, but his legs would not move. He clenched his fists and forced himself to breathe. When he finally turned around, there was nothing. Just fog, stretching far and empty. His heart hammered against his ribs. He told himself, I have to get back to the road. If he could find the crash site again, maybe someone had called for help. Maybe the other car was still there. He walked forward, counting his steps so he wouldn't panic. 10 steps. 20. 40. Then his boot hit something solid. Pavement. The fog thinned just enough for him to see the faint white road line beneath his feet. He was back on the highway. But the diner lights that were normally visible in the distance were nowhere to be seen. The whole stretch of road looked wrong, too dark, too quiet, like the night had swallowed everything. Then, in the silence, he heard an engine. A low growl coming closer. Aaron raised his head as 2 headlights appeared far down the road, moving fast. Relief washed over him, until he noticed something strange. The headlights weren't bouncing like a normal car on pavement. They glided. Smooth. Unbroken. Aaron stepped forward and waved both arms, hoping for help. The lights shot toward him without slowing down. His breath caught in his throat when he realized. There was no car attached to the lights. Just the lights themselves, rushing at him like floating eyes. They were almost on top of him when a voice behind him whispered, Aaron, move! He spun, startled. And that was when something cold and strong grabbed his wrist from the darkness. The cold hand tightened around Aaron's wrist, pulling him off the road just as the floating headlights tore past him. Wind blasted his face, sharp like needles, as the lights streaked by without a sound, no tires, no engine, just bright silence ripping through the night. Aaron stumbled into the ditch, landing hard on his knees. The unseen figure that had grabbed him let go the moment he hit the ground. He looked up, chest heaving. Who's there? He shouted. Fog swirled, thickening around him like a curtain closing. The handprint on his wrist tingled with icy pain. A soft voice drifted toward him. You shouldn't be here, not again. Aaron spun toward it. A woman stood at the edge of the ditch, her figure barely outlined in the fog. Her clothes were soaked, clinging to her like she had walked out of a river. Her hair hung long and dark, hiding most of her face. She didn't move, didn't breathe, not that he could see. Aaron's voice shook. Did you save me? The woman tilted her head. The movement was smooth, too smooth, like a puppet. I tried, she said. I always try. Aaron swallowed hard. Who are you? She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed toward the endless dark highway behind him. They don't want you on the road. They don't want anyone. Who? Aaron asked. Who's chasing me? What are those lights? The woman's pale lips parted. Not chasing. Searching. A deep humming sound rolled across the road, low and thunder-like. The ground vibrated under Aaron's boots. The woman's head snapped upward. They're coming back. Aaron stood abruptly, his heart punching against his ribs. We have to go. Please, do you know the way out? Back to town? The woman didn't answer. She simply turned and began walking into the fog, feet not making a single sound. Aaron hesitated for only a second before following her. The fog swallowed them both within moments. They walked in silence for what felt like minutes, or maybe hours. Time twisted strangely in that misty space. Sometimes the fog was thin enough for Aaron to see the faint road beneath them, other times, he couldn't even see his own hands. At one point, the woman finally spoke without stopping. You weren't supposed to see the shadow on the road. Aaron frowned. What shadow? The thing I hit? No, she whispered. The one that stepped in front of you on purpose. He felt a spike of cold fear. Why? Why me? The woman stopped moving. Slowly, she turned to face him. Her eyes, once hidden, now glowed faint white, like tiny moons. Because you were the only one still listening. Aaron didn't understand. Before he could ask, a sound cut through the fog, a long, low groan like bending metal. The fog around them shook. The woman's voice turned sharp. Run! Run where? Aaron spun in circles. The fog made everything look the same. Just run! She snapped. He didn't wait. He bolted straight ahead, boots splashing through unseen puddles. His breath burned. His jacket whipped behind him. The groaning grew louder, turning into a grinding roar. Something massive was moving through the fog. Aaron's foot hit something solid, pavement again. The fog split open slightly, revealing a flickering street lamp swaying above the highway. He sprinted toward it, desperate for any landmark. When he reached the lamp, he stopped to catch his breath. Only then did he notice the diner. It was across the road, where it had always been. But something was wrong. The sign wasn't flickering, it was completely dark. The windows were shattered. The door hung open, swinging in the wind. Aaron whispered, This can't be the same place." He stepped closer to the diner, drawn to it even though every instinct begged him to run the other way. As he approached, he saw shapes inside. Not people, shadows. They shifted slowly, crawling up the walls, across the ceiling, like living ink. Aaron staggered back. A voice behind him said, "You see it now." He turned. The woman stood a few feet away, her hair still dripping even though the rain had stopped. "This is what they leave behind," she said. "Every time they come through." "Who?" Aaron begged. "Please tell me who." The woman lifted her hand and pointed toward the broken diner sign. "Look!" The sign flickered once. Then again. Then the neon lights buzzed to life, forming a single glowing word. "Return." Aaron's breath caught. "Return what?" The woman stepped closer, her voice softening. "You took something. Long ago." He shook his head. No, I've never." But she interrupted. "Not with your hands. With your choices." Aaron backed away until he hit the hood of a wrecked car. His pulse thundered. "What does that mean? What choices?" Before she could answer, a violent crack ripped through the air. The road behind the diner split open like something underneath was clawing upward. Black light, more shadow than light, burst through the cracks, lifting debris into the sky. The woman's eyes widened. "They found us." Aaron watched in horror as the floating headlights reappeared, rising from the broken road like two burning suns. They swerved, searching, scanning the darkness like predators hunting. The woman grabbed Aaron's arm. Her icy fingers dug deep. "We must go," she hissed. "If they see you, it's over." Aaron turned to run with her. But the ground shook violently. The floating headlights locked onto him. They rushed forward, brighter than fire, faster than any car on Earth. And the woman screamed, "Aaron, don't let them take you!" As the lights slammed toward him, the world exploded in white.